The Ohio State Buckeyes travel to Ann Arbor, Michigan to take on the Michigan Wolverines in what is known as the game. Okay. It is known as the game. Can't get any better than that in rivalry weekend. How about this for a Thanksgiving tradition, ladies and gentlemen? We get these two logos right here behind me facing off in what could be one of the greatest days of all time if you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, and one of the worst days of all time if you're an Ohio State Buckeye fan. Imagine if Michigan wins this football game. That would be 5 years in a row where the Michigan Wolverines have beaten the Ohio State Buckeyes. Let me count that again. 5. That's half a decade, ladies and gentlemen. Half a decade of beating your biggest enemy's butt for 5 years. Are you kidding me? That's what's on the line for the Michigan Wolverines in this one. For Ohio State, you just gotta stop that from happening. You can't get beat by seemingly what you've deemed as your little brother for 5 years in a row. You can't get beat by them for 5 years in a row. You can't let that happen if you're Ohio State. If you're Ryan Day, if Ohio State loses this game, it's gonna be a Ryan Day Kirby Smart comparison with Kirby Smart in Alabama and now Ohio State with Michigan. Okay, they still beat everybody else. They still have one of the best rosters the entire season long. Every year they are competing for a national championship, but they can't beat Michigan, just like Kirby Smart can't beat Alabama. You can't have that happen if you're Ryan Day. Now, let's jump into the keys for each of these teams to win this football game on Saturday. If you are new here, go ahead and drop down below and subscribe on YouTube, and then follow at Ian Fritts Show on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram as well. The way I do this is I talk about a few things we know about each of these teams, and then a couple questions, one or two, that we need answered from them on Saturday. And then we combine that, we bake it all into what I call the game script for each of these teams to win. We always start with the visiting team. It just so happens to be the number one team in the entire country, the Ohio State Buckeyes. What do we know about these Buckeyes? First thing we know, they don't want to lose this football game, but that has nothing to do with this football game, and nobody wants to lose this football game from either side, okay? The first thing we know, this is the best defense in the country, okay? I've seen people try to say that Oklahoma's defense is the best in the country, maybe even in Indiana, possibly a Texas Tech is the best in the country. No. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Ohio State. And you're thinking, Ian, but they haven't played anybody. They haven't played no offenses. I don't care. You watch them play. You see the way they do things defensively. They're the best in the country. They quite possibly have the two best defensive players in the country in safety Caleb Downs and linebacker/edge and Arvell Reese. Those could be the two best players just in college football this season, and they're on their defense. They're the best defense in the country. They're first in points per game allowed. They're first in yards per game allowed. And I'm just going to tell you right now, you're going to get a little sick of hearing first, okay? First in points per game allowed. First in yards per game allowed. First in points per play allowed. First in yards per play allowed. First in red zone defense. First in passing defense, okay? Now, that's the end of the first. It's gonna really regress here for the Ohio State Buckeyes defensively. They're third in rush defense and they're third in sack rate. Wow, what a regression. They are unbelievable, this defense from the Ohio State Buckeyes. They've only allowed over 10 points 2 times all season long. The most is 17. Quite possibly could be 16 against Illinois, 16 or 17 against Illinois. And I believe 14 of those came in the last 8 minutes of the football game when it was well without a reach. So this defense is just utter domination, just disgusting watch if you are the opposing offense and you want points to be scored. It is hard to watch if you're cheering for the team facing this defense. Second thing we know, the schedule has been weak. The schedule is really, really weak. You know that SpongeBob meme where SpongeBob is flexing and there's no muscle showing on that arm of the old SpongeBob. Okay, that's Ohio State's schedule this year. It is weak. It is weak, folks. However, a question attached onto that. Does it matter? Does it matter? because the eye test would tell you that it doesn't matter. Ohio State could be playing high school teams for 99% of the year and then go play in the national championship and probably have a chance to win it. Okay? It doesn't matter. This is the best team in the country for a reason, and it's because they play like it week in and week out. Biggest question for Ohio State in this one. It's my only question for Ohio State in this football game. It is, will Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate play in this football game? Are they MIA until the playoffs? Are they MIA until the Big Ten championship game? Are they seriously injured? We need those guys. If you're an Ohio State fan, you need those guys on the field at their best playing on Saturday morning. You need that to happen, okay? Because you look at the past two games. Julian saying without Carnell Tate and without Jeremiah Smith, the past two games, 23-31, 187 yards and one touchdown. And then last week, 13-19, 157 yards and two touchdowns. 10% less accurate, about 3.5 yards per attempt less than he usually averages. And it's because the two best players on the offense aren't on the field anymore, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, they have backups. They have reserves in the wings that are talented players, 5 stars, 4 stars, elite athletes there at the wide receiver position for Ohio State. But they aren't Jeremiah Smith and they aren't Carnell Tate, 2 top 10 picks in the next 2 years of the NFL draft. They aren't those guys. The deep threat isn't as threatening without those two guys. Now, Ohio State's good enough to get around that, but you haven't been facing a Michigan Wolverine defense the past 2 weeks. No offense to UCLA, no offense to Rutgers, but you're not Michigan. You don't have the guys, the athletes that Michigan has. Do they play? Ohio State needs them to. So the script for Ohio State, to me, reads like this. Number one, the defense just does what it does. Pretty simple. Number two, Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate play in this game. That is number 2 key for me. Now, Ohio State could just have number one come to fruition, and they can end up winning this football game. But if they want to win comfortably, I think Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate need to play in this football game. Michigan, what do we know about these Wolverines? Number one, this is by far, I would say, the biggest spot for Bryce Underwood this season, which coincidentally is his entire career. So it's the biggest spot he's played in all season long. You would have to go all the way back to September, all the way back to week 2 when he was on the road at Oklahoma. That was the biggest spot he's played in all season long. And now he gets the number 1 team in the country coming into his building, coming to play his team in the biggest rivalry in all of college football. The entire country is watching this game on Saturday morning. All eyes are on this Bryce Underwood. Biggest payday in recruiting history for Bryce Underwood. Does he live up to it on Saturday morning in the biggest rivalry, in the biggest spotlight in college football? Or does he fold like he did in Norman, Oklahoma, where he was abysmal against that Brent Venables defense? He's going up against a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator in Matt Patricia. You don't think Matt Patricia is licking his chops saying, oh, true freshman, you're giving me an 18-year-old that I got to scheme up against? You're giving me an 18-year-old. I've gone against Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, and I'm going up against a Bryce Underwood? Oh, Matt Patricia is licking his chops. That's what we know about the Michigan Wolverines, which leads right in to some of my biggest questions for Michigan in this football game. Number one, Bryce Underwood. Does he take care of the football? This is tagged along with the turnover margin. Does Michigan win the turnover margin? Are they +2? Are they +3? Are they -2? Are they -3? If Michigan ends up negative in the turnover margin in this football game, it could get ugly, and it could get ugly fast. I'm talking 28-0 right off the bat, like that Notre Dame Fighting Irish versus the Syracuse game was a week ago. That's how ugly this game could get on Saturday morning. But if they're up, +2 or +3, Michigan could have a chance to hang around the entire game and pull off one of the most incredible upsets since last year when they did beat Ohio State. Second biggest question for Michigan in this one is, what's the time of possession look like? And you're thinking, time of possession? Yeah, what are you talking about? In my mind, for Michigan to win this game, they need to hold on to the ball for over 40 minutes of this game. They need to play keep away. They need to be on the field for the majority of this football game. Give their defense rest so they can get after Julian saying this is going to be the best defensive line Ohio State has faced up until this point in the season since they faced Texas in week 1. That was 2.5 months ago, ladies and gentlemen. And just now they're facing a defensive line that's not as good as Texas's, but it is comparable in terms of what they've seen all year long. Ohio State had a little bit of trouble, but they've also had 2.5 months to improve from that. So how much improvement have they showed? Or is Michigan able to get after them with rested guys because they dominate the time of possession? So for Michigan, the script, number 1, win the turnover battle. Bryce Underwood cannot make the big mistake in this football game. Number 2, win the time of possession, at least 40 minutes to 20 minutes in this football game. Give your defense fresh legs to get after Julian Sayin and wreak havoc in the pocket. The pick, the prediction. What do I see happening in Saturday morning in the best rivalry in all of college football? Ohio State's favored by 9.5 currently. I am going to take the Ohio State Buckeyes to win this football game and cover. Unfortunately, I would love an upset in this. I love upsets. I would love an upset in this football game. I just do not see a way that Michigan can hang around in this football game on Saturday. I don't see it happening. I didn't see it happen last year. Boom, it happened. I don't see it happening again this year. Will it happen? We shall see.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game.
25, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis.
Oh, my God.
Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game. He ran the missed field goal.